It's 6 o'clock, and it's time. Welcome to the September 4th meeting of the Des Moines Planning and Zoning Committee. Let me read the rules and procedures of the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's generally an advisory body to the City Council. The City Council will hold a public hearing and make the final decision on all matters before the Commission other than site plans and subdivision plats, unless denials or conditional approvals thereof are appealed. Please contact the City Clerk or Development Service Department staff for details on council hearings. Applicants will be given 10 minutes to present the request. Proponents and then opponents from the public are then allowed to speak in that order, with each speaker allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. The applicant is then allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal. The hearing will be closed and the Commission will disclose the vote on the issue. All comments are to be germane to the item under consideration, and speakers are to maintain a courteous manner. Items listed on the consent portion will not be individually discussed and will be considered for approval in accordance with the recommendation in the staff report, unless an individual president or a member of the Commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately under the public hearing agenda. I'm asking for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion's approved. All those in favor, please raise the right hand. All those opposed? Any abstentions? I will read the consent items. Consent public hearing item number 1. Request from the Beaverdale Post 9127 VFW regarding a property located at 4029 Urbandale Avenue to allow additional patio space in front of the building. Anyone in the public would like to pull that from consent and put it on the public hearing agenda? Any commission members would like to pull it from the consent? Therefore, this item number 1 will stay on the consent agenda. Number 2, request from Cold Storage Rehab, represented by Abby Gilroy, for property located at 2814 7th Street. Anyone in the hearing room in the public wants to pull this from the consent calendar? Any commissioners want to pull it from the consent calendar? Therefore, this item number 2 will stay on the consent calendar. At this time, we need a motion to approve the items moved to consent.
Do you want to see if there's an openness on, is it 4 on item 4? It could possibly, Chair, members of the Commission, Jason Van Essen with planning staff. The item 4, the applicant's in agreement. We weren't aware of any opposition, so there's possibility that that could be moved to the consent agenda if there's interest. Certainly, we would need to check with the audience to see if there's anybody here for it.
Is anyone here for item number 4 who wants to hear it moved to consent? The address of the property is 715 East 25th Street. Therefore,
I'm sorry, ma'am, are you here for this item? Okay, so you're the applicant, and you're agreeable to the staff recommendation, right? In favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So they're here in support. So unless the commission had questions, it could be moved to the consent agenda.
any questions from the commission on this item moving to consent or objection? All right, item number 4 will be moved to consent. The motion is, I need a motion to move items 1, 2, and 4 to the consent calendar.
I'll move.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Item will go down to, that closes the, well, excuse me, need a vote.
Well, we got on the, that closes the consent agenda, but we did have the one item that has requested a continuance. So let's go ahead and if we could read item 5, I think we have quite a few folks that are maybe here for that one.
Right. Item 5 is request from Highland Park Community Development Association regarding property located at 3851 Sherman Boulevard. The applicants requested a continuance to October 2nd.
So just, how many of you are here for this item? Good part of you? So the applicant before the meeting contacted staff. Do we have an applicant representative here tonight? Okay, we thought that they were have somebody, but they are requesting that the item be continued to give them time to relook at their proposal and possibly make some changes. The commission typically does approve these requests to continue the item to let the applicant revamp their proposal. So, I mean, that's kind of a normal protocol. It's best to have the hearing all in one night, so it would be, hopefully, everybody would be able to attend the next meeting, which we said was when?
October 2nd.
The October 2nd is when the applicant would like to come back, present their item, make with any changes they're going to propose. Hopefully, everybody's available. If you have questions, the commission is going to need to vote on this, of course, but staff can answer any questions you have about that process.
Will cards be sent out again, yes or no?
No, we will just use the same cards unless the proposal is drastically different. But I'm trying to remember, Bert, how many days, would you have time to do a 10-day notice?
Yeah, before the October 2 meeting, we would.
Okay. I mean, if in fact they come back and want to change, like they propose a different zoning district, or if they do come back with changes, we will renotice it and explain, what is the new zone, what are they proposing this time. So we do have enough time to provide that notice.
Any objection to moving it to October 2nd?
Yeah.
And we need a motion to continue this to October 2nd. All in favor say aye. Raise the right hand. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Chairman, are you voting on these items? Sorry, I just want to make sure you're indicating your vote as well on the items.
Make sure that you express your vote.
Yeah, express your vote on them.
Yes, I'm in favor. I'm in favor, yes.
Thank you.
So so this was continued. We appreciate everybody making it here tonight. Hopefully you can attend the next meeting. We will send a new notice if in fact they do make changes to their request.
Same time?
Yes, same location, same time of day. Thank you.
We'll just have number 3 and then 6, 3 and 6.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll wait the people to come around first.
3 is the...
I'll read it. All right.
I love your skirt. It's so nice. Oh, you look so nice. Thank you for coming out.
We'll go ahead and move to the public hearing part of the agenda. Number 3, request from 3800 Dixon LLC owner, represented by Blake Biology, for review and approval of public site hearing at 3850 Dixon Street Warehouse and October Storage for property located at 3850 Dixon Street for a Type 2 design alternative in accordance with City Code Section 135-9.24B and 135-9.31B to allow 100% mirror facade materials on all facades where major materials are required to comprise a minimum 60% of the street-facing facade and shall continue around the corner of the building to the side facade for no less than 20 feet. Jillian is presenting this.
Good evening, Jillian Summer with planning staff. Sorry about that. Item 3 is regards to property in the vicinity of 3800 Dixon, or 3850 Dixon, as we will be assigning for the new building. The property is located to the north of East Euclid, west of 235. On the west side of Dixon Street, the area is generally an industrial area. The proposal before us is to separate the property with a plat of survey. There's an existing building on the southern portion of the property. They would be subdividing to develop the northern portion of the property, which is currently vacant. The new development would include a new warehouse building, about 30,000 square feet, as well as an outdoor storage area. This white rectangle would be the building, outdoor storage around it on the sides and the rear, with a parking lot at the southeast corner of the building. Dixon Street is on the west side of the building. The applicant is, the reason for the item tonight is in regards to facade materials. Facade materials are generally something that are eligible for type 1 design alternative with staff review and approval. We have not been able to come to agreement with the applicant, so at this point it's been a denied type 1 that they are appealing. The requirements in the code are for a minimum of 60% of the street-facing facade to be constructed of major materials. Major materials are generally brick, stone, concrete, concrete masonry units. Metal is not considered a major material, it's considered a minor material, and it has additional limitations. Metal is limited to no more than 40% of any facade. That's actually any facade, not just the street-facing facade. And metal is also requires, at a minimum, a major material at the base from grade up to 2 feet. What the applicant has proposed at this point is shown on these elevations. The street-facing facade, sorry. Is this elevation here, where they are proposing approximately 80% metal, 10% stone, an adhered stone product with 12% transparency. That's the street-facing facade. On the side facades, they are proposing the same type of design with pretty much majority metal with just the 2-foot adhered stone base. At this point in time, we aren't clear on that stone material. The product information that has been provided to us, it can come in either a 1.5 inch or a 2.5 inch thickness. A 1.5 inch thickness, we would treat that comparable to like a thin brick, which would also be a minor material. If it is the thicker style, it could be comparable to a brick product, which we would consider a major material. So depending on what is proposed there, that stone could be either a minor material or a major material. So what staff would recommend here would be that we would increase the stone on the street-facing facade. This is just to give you an exhibit of what our expectations would be that we would approve as the type 1. This is actually still exceeding what the code allows, but we do feel this would be more comparable to what we have allowed on other buildings, and it's important to us that we remain consistent from project to project. So the street-facing facade, we would be looking for something more in the range of 40% stone instead of that 60% stone, or it could be any major material. If the stone product doesn't turn out to be the right product, it could be a brick or a CMU. On the sides, the windows are set at 3 feet from the grade, so we are recommending that on the sides that the major material be brought up to the bottom of the windows, just 1 foot And then at the corners, we would recommend that major material just wrap the corners to a natural stopping point. The gutter line at this point in time is what we would recommend. Certainly if the design of the building changes, a natural stopping point is really what we're recommending. Just to give you some examples of what else we have approved, I wanted to just show you some other existing projects that were approved and constructed under the current code. These are also projects that are in an industrial district. They're generally a warehouse type facility, the same type of comparable project. This is one example in Broadway Business Park. One other example in Broadway. This is another example. So you can see these examples do have just a little bit more of that major material on the front facade wrapping onto the sides, just like what we are recommending today. Because it is eligible for a type 1, our recommendation is for denial. Should the commission want to go with the staff recommendation, we would be inclined to grant the type 1 design alternatives consistent with what we would be showing you today.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Does any of the commissioners have any questions for the staff? Thank you, Jillian. Applicant's presentation. Don't strain yourself.
I'm not supposed to be lifting more than 25 pounds, and I can guarantee you that weighs more than that. My name's Emma, and I'm the architectural designer for 3850 Dixon Warehouse Project. And I'm here to support the original design that we have submitted with the 2-foot stone base that wraps all the way around the building. This was the original design that we came up with, and we continue to stand by it today, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So this architectural wall panel, this metal paneling, I'll start with that. It's actually a really high quality, durable material that is considered a standard building material for this type of building, a warehouse. And warehouses have been built, all over the nation out of metal, steel structure, steel framing steel framing members, steel roof, steel cladding. So to derive from that and to go to more stone is actually where I would consider that more questionable. So we intentionally gave this building a 2-foot stone base to represent that of a plinth, which is an architectural term that represents the exposed foundation or base of a building. And this plinth would essentially sit 2 feet above grade level, where the rest of the structure would sit on top of that. It is a very cohesive design. It wraps, like I said, all the way around the building, so every facade can match, and it's very well balanced because of this intentionally designed plinth. Now, where I would say the design could start to waver a little bit is when we start adding additional stone to areas that I would consider arbitrary and up to heights that don't really seem reasonable from an architectural standpoint. At that point, it does look like just adhered, stuck-on stone. So, like I said, this building, it's an informed design, having that 2-foot stone wrapping all the way around. It's cohesive, it's aesthetically pleasing, and it's well balanced. This product here, this is the stone that is in question. So this is actually by Centurion Stone, which their factory is 6 minutes away from our building location. And we've used their products on lots of different buildings. You probably... Oh, sure, yeah. Yes. And what's cool about this is that, so this is a cast mold to look like stone. And the molds are actually made by craftsmen. They take real stone and they make the mold, or they make a mold out of the real stone to try and give it the most realistic look as possible. And then this is going to be a mixture of cement and aggregates. So very, very similar to concrete. I cannot say it is concrete because it's not. Concrete is going to be more of a structural material tested for PSI. Now, since this is just an adhered stone, it doesn't need to be that, dense of a material. So I just wanted to bring this in so that we can all take a look at it. Back to the wall panel. So this panel, this pre-engineered manufacturing building company, they're going to provide the structure as well as the panels. And these panels are specifically designed for warehouse typology and use. So they do take, abuse pretty well. Denting, this type of panel withstands against heavy machinery very well as too. So it's specifically designed for this building typology, which is why we've wanted to keep it on all facades as much as possible. What's my time?
Oh, 4 minutes.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll keep talking if you don't mind. So on this east primary facade, I think one of the big things that stand out to me as a designer is that in my training, I typically would not want to put more emphasis on a facade that is not, that does not have any user interface. So there's no sidewalks, no doors, no parking, there's no access whatsoever. That facade is nearly 60 feet away from the main road. So to add additional emphasis on that facade, again, would be an arbitrary design move on our end. So I think I'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much.
Does the commission, would you please state your first name and last name and your address?
Yes, it's Emma Van Zanti. And then, do you want my work address?
Yes.
617 Southwest Ankeny Boulevard.
Okay.
In Ankeny, sorry. Uptown.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Excuse me. You make sure you sign in too. To your right. Any questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, I'm curious. Arbitrary in the context of the commission typically means without legal basis to me, and so I guess I'm not sure that's what we mean here, since the ordinance on what amount or what percentage of metal versus stone should be on the front is clear, isn't it?
Yeah, it's clear, and I understand where you guys are coming. I'm on the same team as you guys when it comes to wanting a high quality, beautiful looking building, and I know stone is a method of achieving that. The argument I'm trying to make is that the 2-foot stone plinth that we've intentionally designed around the building, I think definitely serves that purpose from an aesthetic standpoint, whereas bringing it up any higher starts to make the building look unbalanced from the stone base to the metal.
Well, luckily that's an argument for someone else since I'm an engineer, but I just want to make sure we're clear, because arbitrary would seem to indicate that we're misapplying the ordinances here on staff's behalf, which I don't think is true. So I just want to make sure we're clear. This isn't an arbitrary request by city, it's a clear interpretation of the ordinance. The second one is, what's the cost differential of complying with what the ordinance requires versus what you're proposing?
That's a good question. I actually have not looked into that. I know the cost differential is something that our owner is concerned about. I don't know if that's, you don't really know anything about that either. I'm sorry, I can't provide any information on that.
So the argument's right now just basically, in your opinion of aesthetics, you just don't like how the ordinance would look, and you'd want us to do something different just based on how you believe it should look.
It's not that I don't like how it looks. I think for this specific building typology, it makes sense to go forward with the metal and have more limited amount of stone in a place where it makes sense to have the stone from an architectural standpoint. And so again, if we bring that stone way up to the 40%, you start to lose that balance in the building facade where it no longer looks like a stone base to the building. It looks like it's just been adhered up to a certain height.
Any other questions for commissioners?
Yeah, I have a pretty simple question. Is that example of what you plan on doing for the veneer, is that 1.5 inch or 2.5 inch? And as far as you know, is there a 1.5 and a 2.5 veneer that you
They
could consider?
provide both. Yeah, and this is just an example of what the adhered stone looks like, but this might not necessarily be the same color or shape that we end up going with.
Do you currently plan on using a 2.5?
We certainly can, yeah.
I think for me, that's probably like one of the easier things to do, to at least, if that kicks it into the major material, and then there's the discussion on the percentage, but at a bare minimum, maybe at least the 2.5 seems like something. Although I'll be honest, I don't know for sure, and I know we have architects here who probably know more than I do about it, but I would be curious if the 2.5 inch is more durable than the 1.5 inch. Does it provide? Because I'm guessing aesthetically, there's really no difference. So I'm not real sure what the 2.5 does versus the 1.5 myself, but it does seem like maybe that would be low hanging fruit.
I think the 2.5 might give it a little bit more definition in the stone pattern versus the 1.5 might seem a little bit more flat.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Any speakers in support? Any speakers in opposition? Well, at this time, we'll close the public hearing and ask the commissioners for their opinions and thoughts.
I think we have an opportunity to change the ordinance if we want at some point. Staff has accurately stated what the ordinance is. I personally don't see any reason to go outside of what the ordinance is in this case.
Any other comments or questions?
I don't disagree with that. So, but I also have some mixed thoughts on this too, because looking at the, everything I feel like should be able to be looked at case by case, although I generally definitely agree that, there's a reason why we have codes, and that's where we should always start. And then from there, it's looking at the context and the actual neighborhood and street where the project is. And the examples, definitely, I would probably 100% support the code and how that looks, because of the streets appear to be a lot more traffic, probably closer to neighborhoods. In this industrial setting, I don't think that this would be a bad product, just as proposed, to be honest, given where the location of this is. But I do wonder if we feel like this could set a precedent to where it makes it easier for others to come forward and ask for the same things and get them approved. I don't think so, because everything is case by case, and that's what we're here for. So on one hand, I do, I like to adhere to building material standards that are set forth in the code, but I think we can look at it case by case. And in this particular, where this building is located, looking at the street and the surrounding buildings and the type of traffic it has, I could certainly support the building as proposed. I just think if there could be some additional things done, like the 2.5 veneer at least, or take a look at some other things, that might be good. Todd,
I think you have a question.
I have comments.
Comments, yes.
Many questions. I think in my opinion, we got to take context into consideration here. And in my professional opinion, I think fewer materials are always better for buildings like this. Whenever I see this type of stone, regardless of thickness, applied incorrectly, it falls off. And in our climate, it falls off more often than not. The base of these buildings are where mowers hit them, especially in industrial areas. You get guys going pretty fast with mowers. I would prefer to see a concrete base with the metal coming down to it, and we just keep it as simple as possible in an industrial area. It'll be a better long-term building if it were simpler and more straightforward. That's just my opinion.
Any other comments? Do we have a motion?
I don't really have anything further to say, but I agree with what John said, so I would be in favor of granting relief in this case. So if he wanted to make a motion, I would support it.
John, you want to go ahead and make a motion?
Could we ask one other question? The staff gives us an option that the staff would grant a type 2 design alternative if we deny the one that's proposed initially by the city. How would that affect?
Jillian, can you answer that question?
Sorry, can you say that again?
I want you to repeat the question.
Oh, the question is, if the commission denies the public hearing as submitted in terms of the recommendation, should the commission adopt the staff recommendation, should the commission adopt the staff recommendation, and that's to deny the application, staff would grant the type 1 design alternatives as described in part 2 of this report.
Yes, that's correct.
And so how would that affect our discussion?
Our recommendation would be for the stone to be at least the 2.5 inch or some other major material, and our recommendation would be to increase the stone on the front facade and a little, up to approximately 40% stone instead of 60% stone. And then we would ask it to be raised up to 3 feet on the sides instead of 2. And then the wrap at the corners.
Then the stone that would be proposed, the stone that Todd was talking about, the stone that Todd was talking about that has a life that's questionable?
Yeah, I think Todd was recommending that they actually do concrete rather than stone, and that would be a major material if that design was changed in that way.
It's up to them.
We need a motion. Someone to draft, propose a motion that's we can take a vote on.
Can you please clarify what we were just talking about for a second? So basically what we're saying is, right now, we're looking at facade rock that's on metal, which Todd's argument is that falls off, and especially if it's going to be impacted more by industrial mowers, it's going to fall off. And now we're arguing over how tall we want false rock versus having a major material under where the metal comes down to. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's twofold. What is a major material and how much do you want on each facade?
So either way we vote on this, so either if we accept this application or not, we still have basically non-major false rock that's all around the thing. And if we deny, we just have more false rock around the thing.
I think that's what Todd is saying, yes.
Chris, you want to make a motion?
No.
I'll make another. So I feel comfortable with the product, honestly, that was shown. Obviously, we have to assume it's going to be applied correctly. I mean, if it's no matter what thickness it is. I think, based on also what Commissioner Gardner said about the context, I completely agree about that. And in this case, I'll go ahead and just make a motion that to approve the Type 2 design alternative.
All right, then we have a motion on the floor. Call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise their right hand. All opposed, raise their right hand. Any abstentions?
Sorry, I'm just a pass, not an abstain. Apologies.
Oh, okay. And the vote is Michelle? Can you calculate that? Motion passes 6-3-1. Thank you. Next is item number 6 by Jason. He'll be in a minute. Yes. Item number 6, consideration of following amendments to Chapter 134 and 135 of the Des Moines Municipal Code, an amendment to Chapter 134 modifying accessory household unit regulations, liquor and tobacco sales regulations, variance test language, and non-conforming provisions for pole signs.
Chair, members of the commission, Jason Van Essen, Planning and Urban Design Administrator. We have a batch of code amendments for you. I'm going to run through them at a high level and try to give you a little context, a little background. And then if you have questions, we can take those questions. I have the actual code language. We can, take it that deep if you'd like. We are looking at both chapters 134 and 135. In 134, we're focused on ADUs, liquor, tobacco sale regulations, variance test language, and non-conforming provisions for pole signs. And then 135, again, is ADU and some housekeeping, or a definition of a single housekeeping unit. Let me several of these items are coming in reaction to legislation at the state level. So I may have mentioned this, or some of you maybe have tracked this, but there was a bill that was passed that narrows down what local governments can regulate with regard to accessory dwelling units. Things that that address were like ownership requirements, minimizing design requirements, not allowing minimum parking standards. And so what we've done in both chapters 134 and 135 is gone through our code and offered up changes that will address those and make our code compliant with the state code. And again, just the zoning ordinance, chapter 134 is really looking at use, where 135 is focused on accessory buildings and building design. So that's why there's both code sections have to be amended. Moving on, liquor, and I don't know if somebody has another mic on. Sometimes that happens. What's that? Okay. All right, we'll see how that works. But moving on, the next batch is really focused on liquor and tobacco sales. And this is coming out of a workshop that we had at the city council. They asked us to revisit this. Big ticket items are really just getting us cleaner definitions of what a liquor store is, what a tobacco store, kind of getting rid of some overlap between the two. Our code didn't really address vapor products, so we're adding that into our code to be consistent with the state code. There's also was interest at the council level to having separation requirements for tobacco stores, so we're introducing a 500-foot separation requirement for tobacco stores from both other tobacco stores, but also like parks and public spaces and schools and those sorts of things. So that in a high-level summary is the changes being made to liquor and tobacco. Variance test language. This was another piece of state legislation, and I don't know how much, we've talked about it with you probably a little bit about the types of things that we look at when somebody applies for a variance. Probably you've heard us use the words hardship versus like practical difficulty. For practical difficulty, something is more of exception level of relief. It's kind of the type of thinking we use with what comes before you for design alternatives, where that variance is really about, do I have any other economic use of the property without the variance? So it's a much higher threshold. And so this new legislation says that you have to use that practical difficulty standard for all dimensional regulations. So that's, numerical standards. So we're just making that change to be consistent. There's interest at the manager's office with the city council direction on revisiting pole sign non-conforming standards. Pole signs are not permitted in the city of Des Moines currently. There are certain rules about what you can do with them that are the existing ones, the legal non-conforming ones. We were asked to make some changes to that non-conforming part of the zoning ordinance, give a little more flexibility for pole signs to be swapped out, like the faces of them to be replaced. And so that's what we're trying to address with this language. So that's the 134, the zoning ordinance changes. 135, the planning and design ordinance, again, it's that ADU bill. And then you might recall the last batch of code amendments we did, we talked about the single housekeeping units and the definition of household living. And we were trying to make some changes to clarify the difference between household living and group living. But there's one thing we forgot to do is we were so focused on 134, we didn't recognize that there was a similar definition in 135 that needed to be changed. So this last item on the lineup is really a housekeeping item. I didn't, pun intended, I guess, right? But so that's what we're trying to do there. So any questions you might have, be happy to try to address them. Again, I have the red line documents if you'd like to go.
There's no one in attendance in the audience. Any questions from the commissioners for Jason?
I just have like a procedural thing, which is basically like, so city council looked at this, they workshopped it, and then proposed it to you to send to us more of as an FYI than anything, I assume, because they're going to vote for it if they've workshopped it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we took their feedback and direction through the workshop,
Okay.
and then we drafted language. So they haven't. So they were providing general guidance and thoughts as to what they're looking for, but you still have an important part to play in the process of this is the actual language. This is actually how it would be implemented. If you have thoughts on that, this is your time to make your recommendation to City Council.
Okay, that makes more sense. I didn't know if we were just kind of like, hey, FYI,
yeah.
they already decided this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, with them, we were big picture. This is more the detailed code language.
Okay, thank you.
Was the red line sent in a different thing? Because I only see one red line for the pole sign item. Was there other red lines for the other pieces, or we're just saying that everything else, like, for example, the last one?
I should have been, on Friday, the packet included everything, I believe, had everything but the pole sign regulations, that we were still working on those. And then we released those, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago. It's all a blur.
Okay, because I'm just seeing table amendments. I didn't see section language, so I was just curious. Okay. Is there a definition of a pole sign? Apologies for being slow on this. Like, what is a pole sign technically?
A sign that's supported by one or two post poles up in the air versus a monument sign.
Okay. So basically along Merle Hay would be a whole collection of pole signs,
Yes.
basically. Is that, okay, so we're basically just saying as long as you don't change the area of the pole sign, don't make it electronic. If it wasn't, you're allowed to make changes to it and keep it? Is that what we mean?
No, it's along those lines. The principle is that we're trying to allow a little more flexibility with pole signs, and the text language does allow for up to 15% increase in sign area, and then does allow for up to 12 square feet of digital display. And, like basically think of it as like fuel sale, like the pricing at a gas station. So to allow a couple of those to electronic display for fuel sales. As compared to, like a monument sign has some design standards and allow up to 24 square feet of digital display. But this is kind of a hybrid approach of recognizing that there's a need to allow some operational adjustments, but still wanting to kind of confine what they're permitted to do. Understanding that ultimately we're trying to move away from pole signs as a community.
And then on the tobacco one, I'm sorry because I didn't, so on the tobacco, we're basically stating that we don't bundle tobacco with alcohol and that they all require that, that the 500 number, is that a license? Because in the table has your circles for saying it's by, conditional use with a 500 underneath. Is the 500 a license number, or what is the 500? I'm sorry.
The 500 is so this is the the table that's for liquor, wine, and beer sales. And this was part of what we were trying to address with our code is right now there's a lot of merging and meshing of tobacco and liquor regulations, which makes it confusing. And so what we were doing is we were taking tobacco store completely out of this table and putting it in the principal use table. Let's see if I can get that here. There we go. And then the 500 represents, if you look at the notes, there's different, here at the end of the table, the key, there's different symbols mean different things, and the 500 is conveying that you have to have 500 feet of separation between these, parcels or premises that have these types of uses. I don't know if I explained that.
I think so. And if I'm reading that right, does that mean that I can't have two tobacco stores within 500 feet of each other as well?
That's correct. This applies to anybody that exists today is legal non-conforming. So this isn't retroactive, but just like if we get a new application, they would have to have they'd have to get relief of that separation requirement from the board. It is possible to get relief to that separation requirement, but that's a separate ask. So on top of asking for the conditional use approval, they'd also have to ask the Board of Adjustment for relief of that standard.
And the last one is on the dwelling units. Was there any other, because I noticed it looks like you're changing the name of it from an AHU to ADU in the table. Is there any other significant difference in the actual language with what we had before as what we have now?
Yeah, we just thought that it's more commonly, our code refers to, we use the term household living, and that's why when it was originally drafted, we had the AHU. But we're kind of tired of swimming upstream on that, so we are switching the terminology to ADU because that's what's more commonly used. If you go, as far as like detailed changes on the ADU, the thing, I guess I said of just scrolling through this. I mean, we had a minimum parking standard that's going away. We used to have to own one of the owner had to be in one of the units. I'm not saying this terribly well, but that's gone to the wayside. A lot of the design standards are more generic. You basically can't apply stuff that's any different than the house standards. So that some of that specific language has been removed. But the big ticket items really are the parking and the ownership requirement.
Okay, so making sure I'm understanding what the impact is. So theoretically, that means that now I don't have to have extra parking if I have an ADU.
Right.
And I don't have to have an owner in it. I could actually now increase density of, multiple people that aren't in the same family on that property by adding an ADU.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes. There's also were some limitations in our code about some places in a single-family zoning district, ADU isn't allowed. There was by right, it's conditional use unless you're within a quarter mile of a transit stop. Obviously, that's going to the wayside now. Anywhere a detached house is permitted on a standalone lot, an ADU is permitted by right.
So an ADU is allowed by right, and is there, as far as size restrictions on the ADU, is anything there changing, or is that?
Yes, the state, the way our code was structured is that ADU couldn't be any bigger than half the size of the main unit. And the state code says half the size of the main unit or 1,000 square feet. so whichever is less. So if you have a house on a property that's 1,000 square feet, you can build an ADU that's 1,000 square feet under the state code. Now, if you have a house that's 3,000 square feet, you can get 1,500. You still have that. You still have the ability to go above 1,000 as long as you're under 50% of the main unit building. Is that?
Okay, so it's the larger of the two. It's the larger of the
Yes.
half or 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And sorry for the last one. Separation requirements on the ADU, how does that work? So if I've got a backyard ADU, was that? Yep.
5-foot setbacks, just like a garage.
Okay, so it's not treated like a front yard in any way. It's just
No.
like a garage in the back, 5s on all sides.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Any further questions? Do we need a motion to pass this?
Yes, you do.
Who will make a motion to pass this item or
I'd move
deny it?
approval.
So moved. We will call a vote. All in favor, please raise the right hand. Any opposed, raise the right hand. Any abstentions? Motion passes. Any committee or directors reports?
Just make sure that we had that card for Jane. They signed it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn? So moved, Todd. Motion, meeting's adjourned.